So I got a new watch in today and I wanted to take a look at it. I'm going to do an unboxing and I'm going to try to give you a brief history of the brand. So I ordered this timepiece off of Hodinkee and it's a Benrus Type 1. Alright, so as we dig in, we'll just take a look at what comes in the package. So obviously a shipping label from Hodinkee and just some brown paper. That's actually all of the packing material they use. All right, so let's see here. We have cardboard sleeve, a padded watch case, and as you guys can see here, the watch is obviously in the case. It has a little bit of plastic wrap on the buckle, on the dial side of the watch, as well as the case back. And inside of the case, there is a quality control certificate, just on a cardboard sheet of paper, and a Type 1 International Warranty and Operational Manual, which has, I'll take a photo of it for you guys, but it doesn't actually have the serial number or any sort of identification on it. On the case back, there's a laser engraving, and what it says here is MIL W50717, Type 1, Class A. Now the MIL W50717 is actually a military specification that I believe was created in the late 1960s or mid 1960s, and that basically just required the watch to meet a certain set of standards, very strict standards. And I think for this issue, the reissue of this watch, the Type 1 was made in 1,000 units, and that should be reflected on this case back as well in some way. So below the military specification number, it also has a model number and a lot of other text. Eventually it says November 2020, which was, I guess, when it was issued, so to speak, to the public. And it does have a serial number. And it also says US. And what's important about it saying US is that Benrus makes watches in the US. Now they use Swiss movements, they use workhorse movements, specifically an ETA movement, but it's assembled here in the States, which I think is pretty cool. I think it's really exciting. I'm a Swiss watch fan, don't get me wrong, but anytime something this cool comes out of a US maker, I'm down to buy one. So my initial impression having it in my hand is that it feels really weighty, and I like that. It makes me feel like I'm getting a lot of value for my money. First of all, the strap that they're using is a double thickness nylon that's stitched around the entire circumference of the bracelet, and it looks like it's the holes are not only punched through, they're also burned so that they don't fray. Let's get the plastic off of the buckle so we can take a look at that. The buckle is signed, it's laser engraved with Benrus. The hardware for the keepers are very nicely chamfered. They're actually a heavier weight than you might be used to on the average NATO strap. They feel really substantial. And the case is solid. It's got a lot of heft to it. Now, not heavy because it's so large, because it's actually not that large of a case. It's, I think, 41.5 millimeters in diameter, but it's constructed in a solid fashion. The bezel, surprisingly, actually doesn't have any clicks. And I believe that's probably because this was not intended as a dive watch per se, more of a field watch. And the numeration on the bezel is a 12-hour bezel, and it is bidirectional. On the dial, it's a sterile dial, which is really cool. So there's no excess branding, nothing to detract you from the mission at hand, which is just telling time as far as I'm concerned. Let me wind the watch so we can get a feel for the quality here. Well, it's super smooth. ETA makes very, very nice movements, so I no complaints there. When adjusting, hour and minute hand actually, just as they should, move very freely. It's a hacking movement, so the second hand does stop while you're setting the time. The crystal on this watch is a domed sapphire, and it flows very smoothly. The transition from the bezel to the crystal is extremely smooth. The bezel itself has an aluminum insert. It looks like the aluminum has been etched and then color filled with a white material. Looking at it under dark circumstances, The bezel itself does not illuminate, but the dial does illuminate quite well. I know they used Super-LumiNova. A lot of watchmakers over the past few years have steered towards using LumiNova because it's extremely bright under dark circumstances and it has a very long life. Next to chromalite, it's my second favorite luminous material. I'm going to get a couple on-wrist shots for you now. So it's got a lot of wrist presence for sure. I like how the crown guards, guarded crown, come to a peak, which creates this asymmetric design language. I also like that on this watch, as opposed to the original, they've increased the lug spread. So now you're able to wear a 20mm strap on the watch, which is a little bit, first of all, easier to find. 20mm straps are everywhere. And also, it makes the watch look a little bit heftier, which I prefer. I'm kind of a bigger guy, so I don't like very thin straps. And I think it looks really nice on the wrist. It's a more balanced size for the strap than the original was. So in closing, my thoughts are this. For $1,695, I think it's an absolutely excellent value. The ETA workhorse movement that's in here, wonderful. And with only 1,000 units produced, I'd imagine that these are going to go pretty quickly. I really like the case construction. It feels very robust. It's a nice sapphire crystal. The strap feels very substantial and very rugged. I really like the engraving on the back of the case. And in general, it's got very handsome looks. I think Benrus knocked it out of the park with this one. So if you're on YouTube watching this video, please like and subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below. And if you're watching this on Instagram, please also leave us a comment and follow our page. Thanks a lot.